All right, I think the time has come to talk about metalcore. I've been putting this off because of the strong feelings that people have about metalcore and its mixture with other post-hardcore genres of late, but it's a very popular thing these days, and I thought I could do like a brief explanation of it. Also, I don't have a ton of time to do videos this month. This will probably be the last one of the month as well. I apologize, I got a lot going on. Metalcore is a pretty simple genre to describe. It takes a few different forms, but the general idea is that you're taking concepts from metal and slowing them down a little bit, oftentimes making them a little bit more groove oriented and slightly simplified, I would think. Whereas a lot of metal is like kind of in the 180 to 200 BPM range or even higher. Metalcore tends to stick more down around like 160 to 180 in terms of beats per minute. In my mind, there's basically kind of like three varieties of metalcore. There's like the more atonal kind of like avant-garde metalcore. Then there's metalcore that's borrowing a lot of sound from heavy metal and older heavy music genres and sometimes considered like southern style. And then there's like the more melodic stuff. It really just sort of depends upon like what modes you use in terms of what road you're going down. And you don't have to stick to one by any means. There's like a lot of different ways that you can play with the genre within one song. So to start with melodic metalcore, I mean, usually sits in melodic minor, harmonic minor range, stuff that sounds like this, you know. It's maybe the most common subgenre that people use to get into metalcore. You're gonna hear lots of oblique chug stuff like and then if you're trying to tap into that more kind of like southern sound, of course, Every Time I Die is maybe the classic example. You can do the pentatonic scale, which is more like the major scale, but omitting a few notes, and it sounds like this, like Last but not least, I think if you're trying to go for something more atonal, the whole 12-tone scale is on the table. So you've got your full range of chromaticism available to you. Yeah, I mean, I would just go nuts with the atonality. It's really all about rhythm, especially as you move into more avant-garde territory. Metalcore in general plays very heavily with rhythm. That's key to the genre. Structurally, it can be very simple or it can be pretty complex. Sometimes it's very linear. You just get one riff after the other. Sometimes you get callbacks to like hook style riffs. The general formula for maybe more melodic leaning stuff is kind of like intro melodic riff, verse style riff, which is probably a little bit less memorable but more groovy, and then you've got, you know, return to the hook, and then a breakdown, and then like outro, which might also be the hook riff. Once you've got your kind of like chugged like, so you can start by adding like your verse, which maybe is like a not quite breakdown style section that's got a good groove to it, like a. And then after that, you got your breakdown, which I did a whole video on metalcore breakdowns, but the basic principle is that you're playing probably just one chord, maybe a few chords with some accents interspersed off time. And the whole thing typically has kind of a syncopated feel in relation to like a halftime drum feel. So like. And you just link all these parts together and find yourself a good drummer, and then you've got yourself like essentially a melodic metalcore band. The same principle kind of applies with the more southern leaning stuff, the more classic rock leaning stuff as well. Once you get into atonal territory, like you're also approaching like what I would describe as mathcore. I already did a whole video about that, so you can check that out. I'll finish off by saying that like any technique that you hear in metal, like you can definitely use in this style of music as well. So just like pinch harmonics, you can use. You can use like lots of neighbor tones. You can like bend into stuff. That's kind of fun. Like there's so many different things that are available to you. I would just check out kind of like any metal style technique. If you want to play like a deathcore style thing, learn a little bit more about death metal. If you want to play something that's like more blackened, learn a little bit more about black metal. And then kind of work in like a little bit more of a groove and slow it down and kind of like focus on the fundamentals. And that's really the whole key to the genre.